Welcome back, everybody, to another wonderful, beautiful morning on Gorale. A lot has happened since the most previous episode, and let's fill you in. If you remember, the last episode had us filling. Let's pull up the map here. We were refilling TCAP on his cedar. He was planting barley there. Let's switch to fruit types. He was planting barley on that field, field 63, and I was finishing up weeding this field here on the north side, and then Zem actually did a lot. I'm not actually sure. They both did a lot. I'm not sure who finished what, but we'll just go over it all. So, what happened was finishing weeding of this field, finished planting there. You see that we planted barley on 64 and 74. Those were grass fields, and TCAP plowed those up. I think mostly it was him and cultivated, and then Zem, I believe, planted the barley there. And I think Zem also planted barley down here. We had said if the weather heated up, we were going to plant soybeans down here at this home farm. But we decided that since, you know what, instead of waiting a few days, we'll just plant all cereal crops. And we tried to keep them a little bit diversified. I don't think we actually planted... Oh, yeah, that's right. We did plant canola. I just totally missed that. So canola there, wheat there, and then the rest barley around this side. Up here... If you remember, we were going to do grass. If you look over here, I think, where is it? Grass growing? Oh boy. We'll have to take a look up there. I believe, why isn't it showing grass? Well, grass was deselected. There we go. So, these three fields were grass, and originally we said that, you know what? For the sheep, I don't think we're going to need this much grass. For the winter, we'll plow it up and plant more crops to make more money. However, Zem brought up the great point that, you know, he was a little bit worried about the winter, having enough grass for the sheep, and also if we want to go into cow production, you know, build up our dairy next year, we'll need lots of grass. And he brought up the excellent point, hey, we can also use some of this leftover grass for producing silage at the biogas plant and selling it off that way. And I totally... forgot about diversifying with that. You know, I was a little bit worried about cash, and if we have grass, it kind of limits our cash production, or so I was thinking. But he brought up the point for, you know, hey, if we just leave that as grass, and if we have an excess of grass, we can just sell it as silage to the BGA, and that's an excellent idea. So we decided not to plow up our grass fields up here, and instead leave them, and he... finished subsoiling that field. I believe we still need to subsoil field 28, so I'll work on that. And then we need to finish. He actually baled fields 30 and 35. And I believe there's still a lot of grass bales out there. And it is set to rain tomorrow, so we're going to have to get those bales under cover. And up here at the home farm, there's a few things left to do. We got to get ready to plant corn. We're going to plant corn up here on these fields, 29, 38, and 39. It's not a ton, but, you know, it's a little bit of diversification up there. So the bigger problem is I am noticing now that I look around, we used to have this trailer full of fertilizer and seed, and it's all gone. So I took a look around the farm here, and I didn't see that Zem put it anywhere, so I am guessing he actually used it all. So in our effort to try to get the planting ready for corn, at some point we are going to have to go buy some seed. I think we have enough wool to be able to buy seed, but I do know Zem sold some of our wool in order to buy a loading wagon so that we could make more cash as silage later. So, I'm not sure if we'll even be able to plant corn at the moment. So, let's start with first things first. We need to buy a pallet fork because I don't think we have a pallet fork and we don't have any money. So, hopefully we have a pallet fork somewhere around here. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to pick up those. We have a pallet fork somewhere. Okay, so let's look at... where is the pallet fork? So I think that is under tools. Let's get rid of all that other stuff. And the pallet fork is down here. Okay, that's right. Because we had the pallet fork with this trailer picking up the... we used it to pick up the bags of seed and stuff. So, since I can't find the pallet fork... where is the pallet fork? What? Where did it go? So the pallet fork is, I'm sorry, I did try to have a lot of this figured out. Okay, so it's on the north side. I did try to have a lot of this figured out before hopping on here and doing some prep work, so I didn't feel totally lost when I was briefing you guys. Oh, wow, we drove right past that. So we got plenty of seed and storage and a little bit of extra fertilizer. So we got enough to get this corn planter ready. So let's drive the Massey a little bit and start getting ready. We will back it up here. Actually, you know what? I totally forgot to set up my wheel. So 1 second. All right, that is much better. Let's get going here. So if you remember from the Limkin pack, well, you might not remember. I'm not sure if we pointed it out, but when we bought everything, the Limkin pack came with this, if I can make that turn. The Limkin pack came with a dry fertilizer container on the front. It is actually this thing that I'm pulling up to. It's a modified version of the Amazon Amazing Fertilizer pack, whatever that's called. But this is actually before I tell you guys this, let me make sure that it is the correct one. Yeah. So that is the mod portion of the Limkin pack that allows us to fertilize with the planter, because the planter does not actually have any fertilizer in itself. So if I remember where the planter, yep, it's right there. And we also had a little bit of problem with this seeder. It's part of the MR conversion that I did myself, and while the original seeder didn't have a problem, this one here is the fertilizer version, and it had a few problems where it was making the tractor steer to the right. So I have since fixed that, and I think we kind of messed up something, because we ended up with, in all that testing, I think I accidentally got rid of the corn attachment. So right now we do not have a row planter attachment for this seeder. So I'm hoping that if we sell a little bit of extra wool, it will allow us to set up and buy that corn attachment later in this episode. So for now, we're going to drive on up to the sheep area. Whoops, that's the wrong button. I meant to press that one. We'll drive up to the sheep area and get this set up for corn. So before I forget, let's select corn. And went past it once. Okay, right there. And we'll turn on our hazards here. Make sure that can't really see it. Kind of blocking the edge. Okay, here we go. And off we go. So maybe instead I should park this at the store, because we're going to have to buy that. So it doesn't look like the train is close. We'll just keep on going through. Yep, no train. And have you guys seen the train yet on this map? I cannot remember. This map is lovely. I am enjoying this Gorale map. And someone please correct me if I'm saying that wrong. I haven't had any corrections yet. I tried Googling it and I couldn't figure out the right way to say it. I just saw something on how Gorale, it looks like it refers to, whoops, the store is closed. It looks like it refers to some kind of mountain people. But anyway, let's pull on over here at the Shell store. Hopefully they don't mind us loitering just a little bit. You know what? We'll give them some business and fill up with gas. So we'll leave our hazards on. And right there. Look at that beautiful Massey. We did discuss on the server using the no teleport mod. But really, in order to make that work, the other part of it was we need... Hold on. Let's drive over and look at the sheep wool first. So, we discussed that we would need a truck. We need something to ferry... Oh boy, looks like the wool hasn't recovered enough. Zim sold all that off to get us the loading wagon, but it doesn't look like we have enough wool. Oh boy. So, what are we going to do? I don't think we can afford to buy. Let's just take a look and see how much they are. So each of those corn packs cost $2,500. So we need $5,000. And let's, yes, sheepy. quiet. Why don't we just hop in here real quick? And maybe one of those... Yeah, we can open that up all the way. You know what? Let's just take a little trip to the wool store and sell off one of these containers and hope that it's enough to give us $5,000. I know Zim was saying wool is actually a good price. If you guys were paying attention to my Labatu Monday map, I actually didn't sell any of the wool. So I'm going to actually have to go do that before I leave that map. Otherwise, we'll be missing out on quite a bit of money, it sounds like. Let's just take this for now. Hopefully this is closer to 75 instead of 50, but 55 it looks like. Okay, well, could be worse, could be better, but let's just go sell this off and see what we get, and we'll go from there. I would like to finish subsoiling today, whether or not we can afford to buy the rest of the corn planter. Unfortunately, it looks like we overbought on seed for the year. I know in real life, well, I'm not sure about the big bags because we don't deal with big bags ourselves. We only deal with seed sacks on our farm. But I know if the seed sack is not opened, you can return it. So I'm not sure about big bags. Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter because we cannot return the seed in this game, unfortunately. So let's turn on sheep. Where are we going to sell wool? It looks like, no, that's where you sell animals. Is it this point? No, is it this point? There it is. So we need to go almost straight east. And that is, if we go out here left, it looks like if we go through town a little bit and head to the east, we should be able to find our way to the wool place thing. Spinnery, that's what I was looking for. All right, we will head on over. Oh, the wrong one. I always, you know what? I think I probably messed up my keybinds from when I had this set up on my laptop, because I keep pressing the wrong button for lights and my hazards. I do have my hazards tied to the little, does this one have it? Yeah. I have my hazards tied to the same button as the beacon, so it hits them both at the same time. Just makes things a little bit easier on the road. So this should be a nice smooth drive out there to the spinnery. And if I am straight, I think I will zoom out. And actually, let's give you guys a little bit better of a view. How's that? Catch out some of this nice little Gorale scenery as we drive along to the spinnery. Whoops. That might be the entrance to the spinnery. Or at least maybe a back entrance. Looks like we can still turn. Can we? Yeah, we can still turn in from that way. So we will head to the right. All right. So this will be interesting to see how much this gives us. I know Zim said that it gives us quite a bit. He said that wool can actually be very profitable. Oops, looks like we need to open this up. Or it's not actually open yet. It is only 6:45. So it looks like we are not actually able to get into the spinnery. Let's just do a roundabout inspection here. And it did look like there was a back entrance, so maybe we can get in the back way. Let's hope so. Nope, that looks like a row of hedges. We are out of luck. Let's jump on over. Nope, yep. That was just a back entrance to a field. Fortunately, that didn't give us anything. So, what are we going to do in the meantime? I guess we can fill up the Massey with gas, but until 7, I think, we might not be able to do anything. I guess we could start subsoiling. That needs to be done. We shouldn't probably waste any time on this map. So let's just pull into this field access here. I don't think the farmer who owns access to that field would really mind too much. We'll turn off that one and let's hop back in and get up ready to subsoil here. So we had, let's turn those back off again and head over to soil composition. So it is field 29. It is almost straight north of here. So I think we still have to exit the farm through the same, yeah, let's head over to the right. And I'm not sure if I pointed it out before when I drove right by them, but you can see all those bales out there that Zim was hard at work out here, windrowing and, well, mowing first, of course, obviously, and then tedding and windrowing and baling. So we can hopefully help him out by stacking some of those bales up ourselves. But meanwhile, I am driving the wrong way. We can set up to do, this is kind of a weird shaped field. Let's make sure that we have the right field. Yes, we do, 29. Okay, so we'll have to figure out how to subsoil that one. I'm not, that's such a weird triangle. I guess we'll just start out with this way. And whenever we hit the end there, we'll just have to turn around on some really short rows. So I think that's probably the best way to do it based on just looking at the PDA. Let's engage our differentials, and we can drop it right about there. Okay, so actually, while we're waiting for 7 o'clock to appear, we can, well, might as well do a pass. I had an interesting conversation with Gorale, the creator of the more realistic mod. Any of you who have ever driven a tractor in real life and are familiar with differentials, you know, you typically put them on when you're doing heavy work like this in the field, right? Otherwise, you're going to get one tire slipping, and it just kind of compounds itself because it slips more and more and more, and the other tire doesn't pick up any of the extra traction. So differentials lock, you know, the axle together, and they turn at the same speed. Most of you probably know that. But it is a frequent thing. I think newer tractors might have something to help alleviate this, but what I'm getting at is, like, right now, if you were to leave the differentials engaged, you pick up and you go to turn, basically the front wheels turn, but the tractor doesn't turn. And that's just because, obviously, when the wheels are trying to turn, well, when the wheels are turning at the same rate, it's awfully hard to get around a corner. So I was asking Gorale, is this modeled correctly in the game? Like, on modern tractors, do the differentials automatically disengage? Because so many times in real life, if you drive a tractor with the differentials engaged doing work like this, and you lift up the implement, you go to turn, and you know, there's that split second where it's like, hey, why isn't the tractor turning? Oh, duh, stupid. It's because you have the differentials still locked. And so on our farm at home in Illinois, we have older tractors. They don't have any type of the modern conveniences that some of the newer tractors have. So I don't even know if that's a feature with modern tractors. I would imagine with our technology that, you know, they would be able to detect, hey, the front wheels are turning, let's automatically unlock the differentials for the farmer. So again, I don't know if that's real, but that's at least my experience with the differentials locking. And Gorale has confirmed that the differentials are not real in game, because I was asking him that because, you know, when you go to make a turn, the differentials are still locked, or at least they show that they're locked in the HUD there in the bottom right hand corner, and it's like, hey, that doesn't that doesn't feel like real life. So yeah, he said basically his answer, the differentials are messed up in Farming Simulator. So let's actually stop right there. And let's hop back over to, let's sell the wool first before we accrue any more debt for the day. And yeah, there is no traffic. I think we can afford to turn off our hazards. And we just have to figure out where the wool sell point is. Wait, is this the wool sell point? I see a lot of straw. Maybe it's also the straw sell point. So maybe we're not in the right spot. Let's do a drive through the shed. Maybe that's the unloading spot. So, here we go. And it would appear that either I'm in the wrong spot or we have one more door to try. I saw right over there. So let's give that a try. And we have not sold anything. So, all right. Well, this is a little adventure. Oh, I'm dumb. That is, oh my goodness. Yeah, you can tell I never sell straw in the game. I never sell straw. Okay, where's the spinnery? The spinnery, we drove right past it. Okay. I don't know why I thought a bale. I guess maybe because, I mean, you have bales of wool, right? I don't know. I'm not sure why I thought that a bale of straw was the place to sell wool, but I don't know. Maybe it looked like I don't know why. I don't know. You know what? Sometimes you just can't explain things, so we'll just leave it at that. And let's head over here to sell the wool. We'll just leave the mini-map there so we remember what we are doing and don't drive past it. Probably turn back on the flashers, and it looks like this entrance, nope, that is an exit sign. So let's hope that there is an entrance down here and we were not mistaken. Yep, right there, in. All right. And we will turn in here. Most elevators, most sell points with big trucks and deliveries like this, they do have an entrance and an exit. You do not want to have to try to back up a semi, and you know, it gets a little bit chaotic there. Okay, so we have sold. Come on, hit 5,000. Hit. Oh man, that's awful close to 5,000. Okay, well, we're gonna have to sell something. What are we gonna sell? It's gonna have to be something really small. All we need is selling something really small, and then we can buy the corn planters. I don't know. I don't know what it could be. I don't know. Let's think about that on the way back to the store. I guess we kind of need bale forks. We need... Okay, I think I know what we're going to sell. I'll tell you my thought in a second here. I'm leaving you in suspense. So, originally, I bought the big, humongous bale forks, right? And those really help you with loading square bales. It's the mod that I really like for loading square bales. Unfortunately, we don't have square bales yet, so we don't really have a need... You know what, let's just spear one of these while we're heading back there. And I'll do my cursory, well, I was going to say I'll do my cursory keyboard handling because I work a lot better with mouse and keyboard when picking up bales, but I failed miserably at that. So let's just try to see if we can spear it. Yeah, we got it. Okay. We'll head back on in, and you know what? Maybe we'll just drop this off with the sheep. I actually didn't check their levels. That is on our to-do list. We share a Slack page with a to-do list that all of us up to date, and the first thing on there is, in bold, remember to always check on animals and feed if needed. So I blew right past that. Let's check on sheep. Okay, so they have enough, but let's see if we can't... Let's see if we can't feed them this bale. And they took it. They took it all. So now it is well over what they need. But that is just fine. Oh my goodness, we didn't close the gate. I'm horrible at that. Okay. Gate is closed. Close the little latch. And stupid sheep are fed. And locked in their pen. Okay. Whoops, don't want to go back. So... back to what I was saying. We're gonna, you know what, I should probably clean up their mess too, but we got a lot to do and not enough time if we want to get those bales in before that rain. So, you know, I could actually skip that. Since I'm concerned about that rain, I should really probably skip that, skip getting the corn ready. But we're not going to skip it anymore. We're just going to get things ready for the corn, since the corn planter is already there. I might want to skip subsoiling because that can always happen later. If the bales get rained on, that will not be a good thing. So maybe we should take care of the bales first. And you know, the next item of efficiency. Now this would be a good thing to think about. We're going to be stacking the bales right there, right next to the field. So is it going to be more efficient to load them on a bale trailer and then unload them like what is that, 100 meters away? I don't think that would be more efficient. I think it'd be more efficient to just drive the extra distance back to the, you know, wherever, back to that shed where we're keeping the bales and leave them there. I think that is probably what I will do. Okay, 837. That puts us back up past 5,000, and we're going to spend it right away. So we want 75 centimeter rows. Actually, that'd be really interesting. I wonder what that is in inches. 75 and 50. Anyway, we'll figure that out later. Let's get back to the sheep. We'll fill the massey up, and we will get it out of there right away. We'll do that before we start in the field. So that way it's kind of a finished little project ready to go for the corn. All right, and take a left there. Turn off the hazards. We're just about back to the farm. And we'll pick up that bale spike and get it ready to go. And then it should just be a short while. I think the massey probably has enough seed. I don't think we need to fill up the seed, you know, again. That's why I didn't mention... yeah, let's stop there. I don't think I can make that. I didn't mention what I was doing, but I don't think that we needed to fill it up with seed before we left the home farm down there. So that's why I did what I did. And yeah, that's not going to work. Not in any world. Okay. We'll swing around here. Do another turn. 25-point turn. And hit the spikes. Okay. So, you know what? I guess I could just leave it here, but we're going to park it out in the grass field. It's a green tractor on a green grass field. It's where it wants to be. Right here. Right in the shade. That's a nice place to leave it. Won't get too hot. We'll be back in it in a jiff. So, let's head on over to... There we go. And we're gonna... What are we gonna do? Oh, you know what? I did say that, you know what, to make it so that we weren't loitering, we'll fill up with gas. So, I think it's a little bit more expensive here than on the farm. I'm not totally sure. But I feel guilty, so we'll just fill up a little bit. Just to be courteous, because we did use their property to loiter. Might as well fill up all the way. Okay, here we go. Back to the store. And, oh, don't hit their building. That would cost a little bit more than what we spent in damage. Okay, here we go. And back inside. And we'll start unfolding. Yeah, let's pick those up and get out of here. We got a lot to do before the rain comes tomorrow. Hopefully it continues to warm up. Hopefully that rain doesn't cool things off too much. We definitely want to be able to get the rest of the crops in the ground. And let's straighten up a little bit first before attaching. There we go. It looks like it'll be better. Okay. Okay, and I always forget, I don't think we need to lower to pick those up. Whoops. Let's get right there. Okay, there we go. So then we will reselect the planter itself. And hey, you know what? One good thing about bringing all the equipment up to the sheep farm, there's actually a pressure washer up there so we can rent all these off. I don't think that the other guys meant to leave all the tools dirty. Maybe they did. Maybe I'll have to get on them for that, but I don't think so. I think that it was really just a matter of we didn't have enough money to afford a stupid pressure washer down at the home farm. Probably one of the original things we should have bought, but we went a little bit hog wild on money, and now we're out of debt, and we don't. Yeah, so I didn't check actually. Actually, 1 second. Maybe we can spend more money. I didn't actually check recently. Nope, we can't spend more money. We are stuck as we are. So hopefully this season we'll be able to do quite a bit of paying down that debt. You know what? Let's just bring this tractor around, and we'll just pull in. We'll pull over by the pressure washer, what I was just talking about, right? We're gonna have to clean this off, and yeah, we'll just pull in right here. There we go. And turn it off. Okay, so now let's get to... Oh, goodness. This is going to take forever. Maybe I'll do my new favorite thing of doing a time lapse. So, you guys want a time lapse? I don't know. Seems to be a fun thing to do. The only problem with doing a time lapse is I have learned that you need to keep the camera steady for time lapses. And loading bales and unstacking bales, I'm not sure how to keep the camera steady. But when you really need depth perception. Yeah, see, you really need depth perception for this job. And you can't really do that very well without moving the camera. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a time lapse after a little bit here. But let's do a few bales the old-fashioned way, the slow way. Hopefully you guys like this. Okay, so let's get in here. And we got... Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Anytime you mix... So, something that I saw... You know what? Let's try this way. Something that I saw online, I forget the user, but he was a user on FSUK, and it looked like they stack round bales like this. So maybe that's the best way to stack them. Is that what we should do? Certainly. Oh, well, we don't want to flip it over. Okay, so I guess we'll just stab it. Stab it. Maybe we can push the other one over a little bit. Certainly want it underneath. Yeah. Don't want it too close to the edge. Don't want it to get wet. Okay, there we go. That should be pretty good, right about there. I know ideally you don't want it too close to the edge, but whatever. We will leave it there. I think that's, I don't know, you guys tell me. I don't know anything about bales in real life. How close to the edge is too close? I suppose you might be able to put a tarp over there on the edge. Just maybe when it's wet, or you know, just over the edge of the bale so it wouldn't ferment, but it would still, you know, have enough air to breathe, but it'd be enough where it could cover and keep the rain out. I don't know. Like I said, I don't do bales in real life. Actually, I take it back. I remember, I have memories when I was little of straw, doing straw in the field, and I think it was for pigs, but I'm pretty sure Dad never grew wheat. We did have pigs when we were little. I'll have to ask him about that, because I have memories of riding the hay rack and stacking the bales. You know, there were the smaller square bales, of course. You know, 80, 100-pound bales. I can't remember, but I remember stacking them. And then I remember being up in the hayloft, and you know, there's this. Those that don't know, old barns, before they had all this huge bales, and I'm sure some barns still work this way, but they're smaller bales that you can move by your hand, and then you typically have a place like a hayloft where you put this conveyor chain driven belt system, and you offload the bales onto the chain. So you have a couple of the guys down low on the hay rack offloading, putting them on the chain delivery system or belt delivery system up to the hayloft. And then you got a couple guys up in the hayloft stacking the bales up there, arranging them into neatly stacked piles. And, you know, that's typically the youngest person. The youngest two people, which were me and my brother, get up there in the barn for stacking the bales. So that is a hot job, because it's like 120 degrees in the hayloft, and there's absolutely no air moving in there, even when windows open. It is probably one of the worst jobs on a farm that I can think of, other than, you know, manure related, or scooping out manure pits, or dealing with, we got just a little bit of lag there. Not too bad though. So yeah, let's get this back in there. Anyway, yeah, I'll have to ask Dad about that because I remember, I mean, I'm not making that up. I remember times when we loaded straw. I think it was just straw. Might have had a few bales of hay, but I think it was mainly straw. It was straw for the pigs. And I don't know, it's weird though because I don't ever remember Dad farming any type of cereal crop that would produce straw. It's always been soybeans and corn. But then again, I'm pretty sure I have that memory of stacking bales of straw in our fields. Maybe I'm wrong about the field. It could be someone else's field, and it was just us stacking and using the straw. I don't know. I'll have to ask about that because I'm sure I remember that. I know I remember that. I'm not making that up. So that's an interesting conversation I'll have to have with Dad. And oh, we're not gonna get that one. Let's try to get it straight on and try to get two at once here to save a little bit of time. I think that we're gonna try to do a time lapse. I'll try to keep the camera here at an angle, and we'll start time lapse time. So hopefully you enjoy the time lapse music that I choose. I do like happier stuff. I know most people use techno music. I'm not the hugest fan of techno, although some songs do fit. But yeah, I typically like happier things, or, you know, things with, I don't know, things other than techno. So please leave feedback and comments on the music selection. I know Platinum Turbo is excellent at commenting on feedback, and he's really helped me out get the time lapses correctly. So please leave feedback on that. The music selection, there we go. That's how you do two of them. And enjoy. It's like the longest preamble ever to a time lapse opening, but it ends now. Begin time lapse. Okay, I think that's gonna end the time lapse because I just seem to be making it worse. I tried to fix those bales there, but yeah, it didn't work out too well. So we will leave this tractor. Let's see, we'll park it inside just a little bit. So maybe if we do a, oh, you know what? How about we clean up the sheep for now, and then we'll park it. So let's detach, and let's go grab the scoop, and you know what? Maybe let's just fill up with water while we're at it so we don't have any problems later when we are trying to finish up the planting and the weeding. So we'll hit the scoop there, and we'll, you know what, while we're kind of aligned here, let's just grab this tanker. We'll fill up the water trough, and then we will go back and there we go. You know what? That's not the... Okay, yeah, so multitasking is a bad idea. We'll get this. Okay, so here we go. And back it on up. Back it on up. Back it on up. Okay, so we're filling up with water. Give the sheep some good water. And how much? You know what? Let's enable that. So we're actually going to need some water soon, it looks like. Let's take a look at the sheep. Where are... I always go past it at least once. Okay, so you know what? They're in the green. Oh, and we're actually at max capacity. That's perfect. All right, so... Hey, that works. We're going to do a U-turn here. And we're going to call that good for the sheep. Oh, and I left the hazards on for the Massey. Whoops. Okay, so let's try to at least clean this up. We're on a little bit of a hill, so it's a little bit hard there if you get the shovel over on the right side. Yeah, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, okay. We're just going to get that good. I don't want to... Oh, don't cut in the tire. Okay. And we're going to call that good enough for this stupid sheep. You know what? We're not even going to dump that in. Let's just make it a little bit easier. We're going to do this. We're going to be a little bit of a lazy farmer and pull right through. Try to maximize the usage of our time here. And I really wish we had manual attaching, but unfortunately it's made the server crash too many times, and I don't know why. So I don't want to keep it. I don't want to keep trying and testing that. You know, I want to keep this a productive server. I don't want to, it's not a test server, so. Okay, so why don't we just detach that, and, whoops, come on. Maybe we should leave that attached. Okay, I guess we'll just leave it all attached. And we'll just park the tractor right there. Okay, so that's a good little tractor. And in case you didn't see on the time-lapse, I was trying to, when I paused there, oh, now I can do it? What? What's the difference? I was trying to do that when... Oh, I wonder if I... Is it kind of the tractor? No? Okay, I did this exact same thing during the time-lapse, and it would not let me open up any of the windows. What in the world? I don't understand. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but I did this exact same thing. I pressed and held left alt, and left clicked. So, I don't know. Anyway... Let's get out of this tractor, and there we go. That is a beautiful little tractor. You know what? Let's just leave the door open there for the next guy. No, you know what? It keeps the interior light on. I didn't notice that. We don't want to run out the battery. Speaking of not running out the battery, let's turn off the lights on the Massey. And why don't we... Shut up, sheep. Why don't we... Some animals are just so annoying. The chickens... and the sheep. If I could silence them. Silence. I'm going to spray you with water until you stop it. Stop baying. Bah. Okay. So we are finishing up this here. Get everything nice and clean. You know what? We got to remember to get the other side too. I do try to get away from that sprayer as much as possible because the sound is really loud. It seems to be like the loudest thing in the game. Okay, so yeah, we get underneath the tractor. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that looks like pretty good wash job. And should we park this for... should I leave it out so other guys can see it? Or should I park it? Maybe let's just try pulling through. We'll see if we can't get underneath there. Maybe I should lower. Excuse me, just had a little sneeze. As long as that... Nope, that's too low. Okay, so if we can't make it through safely, we won't make it through. But it looks like we're good there, as long as we don't hit the door. Stupid me. Okay. So yeah, there we go. And that's nice and centered. So we are ready to plant corn with that guy. And I think that should probably conclude this episode. I know we said we were gonna, well, maybe I could do another time-lapse of this. Yeah, should I do a time-lapse? Yeah, let's do a time-lapse. Okay, so let's set up GPS first. We'll hit new, we'll hit automatic, and yeah. Okay, so we'll get rid of the ugly lines for you, and I'll keep that there. I'll get rid of the map. I'll probably keep the rest maximized just so I can see my lanes. I assume everybody knows this, but wait, hold on, we need to lower that thing. Okay, so this is my lower raise commands, and there's my cruise control, and that's my GPS. But okay, I just had to refresh. I don't always use the side panel there, so I have to refresh it. Anyway, yeah, I like to keep the GPS thing in the bottom left-hand corner just because it tells you what lane you're on. So when I remove the lines, like obviously there's no lines in real life, that way I know when I turn, when I hit that next line, or when I'm on 2 lines over. It just makes turning a little bit easier. Here, I'll show you real quick before we start the time lapse. So we'll head off to the end, and a little bit more, and there we go. We'll raise right there. And yeah, so see how it says I am on line 0. Now it says -1 there in the bottom left-hand corner. And now it says +1, +2, +3. We're going to try to go back to 1. It really helps you try to get the lane right. Okay, so we'll lower and hit back on a row. Okay, so I'll see you guys on the other side of the time-lapse video. Until then, hope you enjoy. And one more pass, and we'll pull out of the time lapse right there. So I wanted to explain why I did what I did. If I can find, where is the edge? Okay, well, let's hit it from this. Okay, so we got one more strip there on the edge to get. We'll get it along right here. So I wanted to explain why I did what I did. In case you haven't been following me before, the way you cultivate a field is you kind of work from inside out. If you saw how much turning around I did on the end rows, you don't want to cultivate that first, because then you are basically just compacting the ground, or unsmoothing it. There's a lot of different types of cultivators, right? There's discs, and the farming simulator game doesn't really do a good job representing them all. It's just like one function, cultivating. But in real life, you have discs that knock down stalks but don't really tear up the soil. You have vertical tillage, you have strip tillage, you have kind of like a harrow cultivator, and then you have like seed bed preparing, and they serve a lot of different purposes. But anyway, they all work in the same principle where, whoops, you don't generally want to put it down outside of the field, but they all work on the same principle where you want to work the inside of the field first. Let's go back and get that, because otherwise what I am explaining wouldn't make sense. You work the inside of the field first, and then you get to the outside of the field and you finish the end rows, because now if you see what I am doing, I am making everything smooth and perfectly ready for planting, and that is typically the goal of a cultivator. I mentioned several other names. Most of them are for preparation for planting, but you have several other different functions in there as well. In our soil type, we actually don't ever have to subsoil. So one second, let's take a look at this. So if you see here, we have a subsoiler and a cultivation combo. This is actually a disc. If you look at its function, it's actually a disc when you see curved tines like that. So it digs into the ground and throws it different ways. So in reality, a disc is, for our soil type in Illinois, a disc is one of the worst things you can do to the ground right before planting, because if you imagine that angle that the disc has in the ground, it actually causes compaction in the soil underneath basically where you're planting. And that's one of the last things you want to do, is compact the ground right before planting. So in reality, in our soil type, you do not want a disc right before planting, if ever. And we never subsoil, as I mentioned, because the hard pan layer, the point of a subsoiler is to break up the hard pan layer that can be anywhere like, say, 2 feet below the surface, right? And if you imagine a hard pan, it's this hard layer of soil that roots cannot penetrate. And so the goal is to break that up so that roots have a better time penetrating that and getting deep into the soil where they need to be. In Illinois, our soil does not have a hard pan layer unless it's created by machinery. So, and I've done a lot of research on this topic that's why a lot of guys do no-till, or in farming simulator they call it direct seeding, right? It takes out that cultivation and the plowing factor, because there's a lot of fascinating research on it. You don't need to break up a hard pan layer, because there's no hard pan layer unless you get out there in the field when it's muddy, and then you can actually create a hard pan layer. And depending on how muddy it is, and this is why you never want to work a tractor in the field when it's muddy if you can avoid it. Depending on how muddy it is, you can actually cause a hard pan layer deeper than what a subsoiler can reach. And that's something that takes years and years for just the natural soil to go back to its original state and get rid of that hard pan layer, the artificial hard pan layer. And that's why you never want to work on a field when it's muddy, if you can at all avoid it. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm thinking of I'll try to find the link actually. There's a really interesting article that Penn State University did all about compaction and tillage, and it's fascinating. They even said, for example, if you do no-till, so if you don't do any plowing, if you don't do any deep work in the ground, the ground actually becomes more resistant to compaction, because it's not worked up. It's more in its natural state. And I don't know, I find tillage practices just fascinating. I mentioned a vertical tillage tool. That's actually taken off really big in central Illinois. I'm not sure about other parts of the Midwest. Looks like we got another player. But the vertical tillage is a tool that is technically no-till. It's technically not tillage. It essentially, theoretically, lifts up the soil and it sets it back down while making a smooth seed bed. So you don't have any type of movement deep in the soil. I think we can take this turn. Generally, you also don't want to turn, well, yeah, with the subsoiler this deep, we probably don't want to turn that sharp. So we'll just back up to finish the end rows here. Anyway, yeah, that's okay. So the vertical tillage, the point is to loosen the soil and let it breathe a little bit, but you're not actually moving it around. It still is no tillage. And one of the reasons you do no-till is to prevent soil erosion. I was talking with some of the guys in the testing forum for the West Coast map, and I asked them how, I asked Bullet Bill, how do you not have soil erosion? How do you still have topsoil left on your fields based on the slope of those fields? And apparently their soil type is just, it's actually pretty decent at upholding to, whoa, that's bad, at withstanding erosion. Our soil in central Illinois, we have flat fields, and the topsoil there is so rich and so deep. Like the topsoil is something like 2 feet deep. It's incredible. Rich black topsoil with absolutely no rocks, 2 feet deep. And the downside is it washes off the field. So that's where a lot of the practice of no-till comes from, because people want to conserve their soil, right? That's their most valuable asset. And with something like a vertical tillage tool, it still leaves that residue. It leaves like the old root systems all in place to help the crops anchor, but it also loosens up the soil to allow it to breathe a little bit better as well, and it makes a really nice smooth bed. Wow. It smooths the seed bed for planting really well. That's what I was trying to say. There's also strip tillage, which I mentioned. Strip tillage is essentially you're tilling a strip, and that strip is the only thing you ever till, and so it keeps the rest of the ground untouched. And then of course you would plant with GPS. Really helps with strip tillage. You would plant into that strip, and a lot of guys that do strip till also do it for corn because they put nitrogen with knives into that same strip. So you're planting into a strip that is the only piece of ground that is worked, essentially, and it also has nitrogen there for the corn when you plant it. So that's another thing. I think it's also technically no-till because the rest of the field is untouched. You're only tilling the part where you are planting. And if we can get straight here and finish the very last end row. So that is there something's a little off. I think that I didn't have both ends down equally. Let's just head back there and straighten up. Is something off here? No? Guess not. Okay, let's try it again. Well, don't want to go backwards. So anyway, that's a few of the different types of tillage. Like I said, disking. Typically, when you see guys disking in the Midwest, it is to break up corn stalks in the fall. Like I said, I accidentally hit M. That's what it was. Yeah, I had free steering on with drive control. That was throwing me off. I must have accidentally hit it when I hit reverse. So it wasn't actually anything wrong with the tractor or the planter. All right. So anyway, so that's the reason why I cultivated the field the way I did, because there's so much turning around on the end rows. You do the end rows last, and hopefully that helps you guys understand a few of the different types of tillage practices out there. So we got TCAP here, and I think that just about does it for this field. I should be getting off here pretty soon, but I'll probably say hi to TCAP first. Oh, he left the server. So maybe he saw that there wasn't anything really left to do because I did everything until we can plant. So yeah, anyway, I don't think I was going to be able to play with them much anyway. So until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope that you like this multiplayer event of Gorale. Please let me know, though, because there is a lot of time elapsed in between each episode, so if you're not enjoying it or there's too much time missed, let me know, because I don't want to do this for nothing. I am having fun on this server. I think I'll still keep the server with these guys. If you want to keep me reporting the progress of this server, then let me know. But otherwise, it's typically going to be like this. You know, it's 2 times per week whenever I can get to it. So sometimes that's in the middle of the week. Sometimes it might be a Saturday and Sunday episode. And, you know, sometimes there might be no time elapsed between episodes. Sometimes there might be a lot of time elapsed. So if I keep this series, that's what it'll be. Please let me know if you are enjoying it, or if you would rather just me concentrate on Leibautu Monday, throwing a couple episodes of that per week. In case you haven't seen the big banner on my homepage, I keep to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule on that one. And yeah, so since we're moving to the West Coast, let me know if you'd rather see me not air these episodes and instead spend more time recording and putting up extra footage of the West Coast. Let's hit on the flashers there. So yeah, like I said, one last time, let me know what you think, and I do try to give my viewers what they want. So I think some of my Gorale episodes, my first few episodes at least, have been some of my most viewed episodes, at least before I aired the special preview for the West Coast, and Bullet Bill helped promote me on that one. But Gorale was one of my more popular episodes and series, and you know, in views at least. I haven't compared watch time to see if people are actually watching it more, if they're just clicking the button and leaving it at that. So anyway, yeah, let me know, guys. I'll try to give you what you want, more of what you want, and we'll probably park this first and then say one last goodbye. Be sure to give me a thumb and subscribe if you like. I'm also trying the new thing of, oh, what's back there? A weight? That doesn't matter. We can just park it back there. If it'll fit, that's going to be a tight fit. We got it. Okay, so, like I said, I am leaving a table of contents for these episodes. It does take a long time to put together and organize and come up with that. I basically have to rewatch the episode all over again. I watch it a couple times when I am editing, and then I watch it again when I put those timestamps in, because it's just too much to try to edit and put in the timestamps all at once, or record those separately. So anyway, can we fit under here? Oh yeah, plenty of room. So let me know what you want, guys. If you like those timestamps and the table of contents, kind of letting you know what's in each episode, for those of you that like to jump around and don't just watch the whole thing all the way through, please let me know. So until then, we'll get one last good look at our Series 9 there. He is, that's been a nice tractor. It's probably the biggest tractor I've ever owned in Farming Simulator. Maybe one of these days I can work up to a tracked tractor. But I just can't cheap out and buy it myself. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, see you later. Bye-bye.